You have eaten it since you were a child. You gift it on Valentine's Day. You reach for it when you are stressed, heartbroken, or just happy. Chocolate, the world's most beloved comfort food. But here's something nobody tells you when you unwrap that silky bar. It has a secret life, and it starts not in a Swiss factory, but deep inside a West African rainforest, in the hands of someone who has probably never tasted what you are holding right now. Stay with me because by the time this video ends, every chocolate bar you ever eat will mean something completely different. Where chocolate really comes from. Most people think chocolate comes from Europe, Switzerland, Belgium, maybe Belgium again. But the truth, it begins here, in the tropical belt that wraps around the equator, in countries like Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Indonesia, and Ecuador, places where it's hot, humid, and where a small tree called Theobroma cacao grows, a name that literally translates from Greek as food of the gods. Inside each pod are about 20 to 50 cacao beans covered in a sweet white pulp. A single cacao tree produces only enough beans to make roughly 1 pound of chocolate per year. Just 1 pound. Think about that the next time you finish an entire bar in one sitting, because I know I have. Right now, Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana together produce nearly 60% of the world's cacao supply. We are talking about the backbone of the global industry worth over $130 billion. And yet, the farmers at the very start of this chain most earn less than $2 a day, the World Bank's definition of extreme poverty. Meet Coffee, he is a composite, but he represents hundreds of thousands of real people just like him living in villages in southern Ghana. Coffee wakes up before sunrise. He walks into his farm, not a factory, not a warehouse, a farm of trees that take 5 years just to bear fruits. He harvests by hand. He ferments the beans in wooden boxes for nearly a week. He dries them under the sun for another week or two. Then he sells them to a local buyer for a price he doesn't control and barely negotiates. And here's the part that nobody in the chocolate aisles want to talk about. According to a 2020 US Department of Labor report, approximately 1.56 million children were involved in hazardous child labor on cacao farms in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire alone. These children are some as young as 5, carry heavy loads, use sharp tools, and are exposed to pesticides often during school hours. Many have never seen the inside of a classroom. This is where your chocolate bar is born, halfway around the world 5 times. Once the beans are dried and bagged, they begin a journey that will take them across oceans, through multiple countries, and through the hands of dozens of people before they ever become what you recognize as chocolate. The raw cacao beans are shipped often to the Netherlands, which is the world's largest processor of cacao. From there, they get crushed into cacao liquor, separated into cocoa butter and cocoa powder, and then blended. Emulsifiers are added, usually soy lecithin, sugar, often from sugar cane grown in Brazil, or beet sugar from Europe, milk solids, vanilla flavoring, sometimes real, sometimes synthetic vanillin made from petroleum byproducts. Yes, really. Then it goes through a process called conking, where the chocolate is continuously mixed and aerated, sometimes for 72 hours straight, to develop its signature smooth texture and flavor. This was invented by Rodolphe Lindt in 1879. Before that, chocolate was grainy and bitter. After that, it was the product we know today. Now, here's the part that will make your jaw drop, and not in a chocolate melting kind of way. The farmer who grew the beans, he receives roughly 6% of the final retail price of a chocolate bar. 6%. The multinational corporations, the brands you know, take home the majority. Middlemen, shipping companies, processing plants, and retailers split the rest. And the carbon cost of moving all this around. The global chocolate supply chain emits an estimated 2.1 billion kilograms of carbon dioxide every year. Add to that the deforestation in West Africa, where cacao farming has destroyed roughly 2.3 million acres of protected forest since the 1980s. In Ghana alone, the forest cover has shrunk by 90% in the last century. 90%. That rainforest that took thousands of years to grow, cleared for cacao. The cruel irony, cacao actually needs shade trees to grow well, which means the very deforestation being driven by demand for chocolate is destroying the condition that make chocolate possible. The industry is quite literally sawing off the branch it sits on. 2 minutes in your hands, a lifetime in its making. After years of growth, weeks of processing, months of shipping, and thousands of miles of travel, a chocolate bar spends maybe 2 minutes in your hands before it's gone. Now, I am not here to make you feel guilty about eating chocolate. I eat chocolate, you eat chocolate, we all eat chocolate, and that's not going to change. But here's where it gets interesting, because the psychology of chocolate is as fascinating as its supply chain. Chocolate contains over 600 distinct aromatic compounds, more than red wine. It triggers the release of serotonin, dopamine, and endorphins. It contains a compound called phenylethylamine, the same chemical your brain produces when you fall in love. There's even a trace of anandamida, a natural cannabinoid, in dark chocolate. So, when people say chocolate makes them feel good, there's real neuroscience behind it. The average American eats around 9.5 pounds of chocolate per year. The Swiss, world champions, eat nearly 19 pounds per person annually, and global chocolate consumption is growing, driven by rising middle classes in India and China. The demand isn't slowing down, which means everything we talk about in previous is getting bigger, not smaller. What happened after the last bite? Okay, so the chocolate is gone. What about the wrapper? That shiny colorful packing that took maybe 3 seconds to tear open. Most chocolate bar wrappers are multi-layer composites, often a mix of aluminum foil, plastic film, and paper, laminated together, and that combination almost impossible to recycle. The recycling machinery can't easily separate those layers, so the vast majority of chocolate wrappers end up in landfill, where they can take anywhere from 100 to 500 years to break down. The chocolate industry produces an enormous amount of packing waste globally, and a significant portion of it becomes microplastic pollution, ending up in waterways, marine life, and eventually back in our food system. In a roundabout, horrifying way, it comes full circle. There's also the question of climate feedback. Chocolate is both a vitamin and contributor to climate change. Rising global temperatures are threatening cacao growing regions. Scientists at the International Center for Tropical Agriculture project that by 2050 climate change could eliminate suitable growing conditions for cacao in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire almost entirely. The very rainforest destruction driven by chocolate demand is accelerating the climate conditions that will eventually make chocolate impossible to grow. The question worth asking. So the next time you reach for a chocolate bar, and you will reach for one end, so will I remember what's actually in your hand. You are holding the product of a cacao tree that took 5 years to grow, harvested by a farmer earning less than $2 a day, possibly with the help of a child who has never tasted it. Shipped across oceans on cargo vessels, leaving carbon trails across the sky, processed in facilities in Europe before traveling back across the Atlantic to your supermarket shelf. All of that for a bar that cost $2 and take 3 minutes to eat. The good news, the story doesn't have to stay this way. There are brands, smaller ones, increasingly larger ones, that are working toward fair trade certification, direct trade relationships, and transparent supply chains. There are farmers cooperatives in Ghana and Ecuador who are getting better prices. There are companies funding reforestation projects. Change is happening, slowly, imperfectly, but it is happening. The most powerful thing you can do as a consumer is simply to know, because once you know, you choose differently. You buy fair trade when you can. You ask questions. You support the brands that treat farmers like partners instead of footnotes. Chocolate has been called the food of the gods. Maybe it's time we started treating the people who grows it that way too. If this made you think differently about something you eat every day, hit subscribe. Next week we are doing the same thing with your smartphone. And trust me, it's even darker than this one. Till time, take care. Goodbye.